Did you just finish having sex and then a couple of hours later you are beginning to feel like you are starting to itch? That first early sign that you might be coming down with a yeast infection? Or did you just finish having sex and you are just generally uncomfortable and wondering what is happening? I use protection or I did not use protection, but I'm certain that this person, you're just wondering, like different things just playing around in your head. And you're wondering what could be happening? Why do I feel this way? Well, there are a couple of things that a lot of people do sexually that can increase the chances of coming down with yeast infection. And that is what we're going to be talking about today in this video. Hi guys, my name is Rachel from That Healthy Woman, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 things that people, women, men, people generally do during sex that can increase the chances of you as a woman coming down with yeast infection. Studies have shown that at least 75% of women in their lifetime would have yeast once. And then half of that number would have yeast reoccurring. If you are a woman and you've never experienced a yeast infection before, then count yourself entirely lucky. Because if you're like someone like me who has had yeast too many times to count or even to remember, then you know that yeast is just one of those things that happen that women generally have to deal with. And this doesn't mean you're dirty. It doesn't mean that you're not taking proper care of yourself. It's just one of those things that happen because yeast is all around our body. It's in our nose. It's just in little doses are just around the body, living their life, minding their business. It's also in the vagina, but it's not causing harm when you're not itchy or having any symptom. It's just there living on its own and enjoying its life. There are different reasons for why you start to have yeast infection, why you start to show symptoms. There are different ways you can handle it, and I've talked about that in my previous video, which I put the link right here so you can watch that. But I should mention that yeast is not sexually transmitted, so you cannot have yeast from having sex, but you as a woman can pass it on to your partner when you are actively having yeast. So when you know, okay, I'm having symptoms of yeast, and then you're still having sex, it's very possible for you to pass it on, but it's not sexually transmitted. Sex is something that most people in this time and age are indulging in, both married couple and single people. I am not here to talk about whether sex is good or sex is bad. I am just here to talk about the things that people generally do during sex that increases their chances of coming down with yeast infection. So if you're someone who has recurring issues of yeast, you might want to check yourself. You might want to look at the things I'm about to talk about and see if these might be some of the things that you've been ignoring or things that you're not even aware of that might be the cause of your recurring situation. Before I go ahead, permit me to mention that this video is strictly for educational purposes. I am not a medical practitioner in any way. And whatever I share with you here is based on things that have personally happened to me and things that I have learned over time. So if you need to speak to someone, if you have an active problem, please speak to your doctor and get their advice on what to do. Now with that, let's get right into the video. And number one, the first thing that generally causes yeast infection for most women is unprotected sex. You might be wondering, what does unprotected sex have to do with coming down with yeast infection? Well, when the vagina is at its healthiest, it maintains a particular pH. That way, the good bacteria is on its own, minding its business, and then the bad bacteria is also on its own, minding its business. And because of how sensitive the vagina is, any little thing, any little imbalance can just mess the whole place up. So any little slight or something happened and they threw off the balance, the pH balance of the vagina, and the yeast there is having a field day. When you have unprotected sex with someone, there is fluid from the person that comes into your body. It could be pre-cum, it could be the semen itself, just something introduced into your body that is not naturally there. And this could throw off the pH balance in your vagina, which can give yeast the room to grow. So it might just be the conducive environment that yeast infection need. Especially, imagine if you have sex with someone and then maybe like for a whole day, you guys are just at it and the person just keeps coming inside of you and just keeps pumping you in. We have like so much fluid just lying around and doing its thing, and then the whole place is moist, it's conducive for bacteria and yeast. And like I talked about in my previous video, yeast needs a very warm, moist environment to thrive. So if you give it the right condition, the right environment, it will overgrow. Having unprotected sex is one way that you can come down with yeast infection pretty quickly. So if you notice that after having sex, you start to itch, you start to feel uncomfortable, you're already having your first, there's this first tickle that you feel just before other symptoms start to follow. So I personally, from my own experience, when I'm about to have a yeast infection, it starts with a little tickle. I'm like, is it, is it not? And then another, and I'm like, okay, this seems like this is it. So if you just finish having unprotected sex and you start to feel this way, then it could just be because of that. So at this point, you might need to, it's always better to attack it before it becomes full blown. At least that's what I do. So before it gets out of control, immediately I start to feel it and I confirm that, okay, this thing is about to become full blown, I start treatment almost immediately. And there are like plenty of options when it comes to treating yourself of yeast infection. So if you're doing self-medications, there are like medications that you can easily take. There's the oral pill, there is the cream, there's just, so you can just go to the pharmacy and say, oh, I need to get something for yeast. And you can start treatment almost immediately. So that is one of the reasons. Another thing that could cause yeast infection during sex is, and I find this extremely annoying, is when people use saliva for lubrication. Like, why in God's name are you using saliva to lubricate? What happened to getting lubricants? What happened to getting ready for the action? Why are you using saliva? I didn't know this for a long time. I didn't know that this was one of the reasons I was having recurring yeast infections for a long time. My body is so sensitive that even my saliva irritates me. Then you're talking about somebody else's saliva? No. So if you are going to do the do, if you're getting ready to do the do, please get lubricants. Do not, I repeat, do not use saliva. Because you are introducing something from your mouth into the other person's private. So it could be a guy, it could be a girl. You're taking something. So it's just a disgusting thing. And then you do this, and then you put that in there. All of that. So if your mouth is not clean, because there's trash, like I said, in little quantity everywhere. It's in our nose, it's in our mouth, it's in our vagina, it's on our skin. So you take the one in your mouth that is probably in your mouth but it's not affecting you, and then you put it into somebody's VJJ, and then you push it all the way in, and then you just give the bad bacteria there room to overgrow because you give it what it needs. Oh, welcome my fellow brothers in the church family, or welcome my fellow friends in the church family. Let's have a few days, and then the other party is going to just start feeling uncomfortable. So if you're someone who keeps having recurring cases of yeast infection, and you know that you and your partner are fond of using saliva as lubricants, I am judging you. You want to stop that almost right now. Get lubricant, get water-based lubricant, and let that be your go-to when it comes to lubricating. stay away, say no. That's what he's doing this and coming close to you, like, hell no, no, and then use your water-based lubricant. That's the best thing that you can actually do for yourself. And this brings me to my next point, which is oral sex. As much as oral sex is nice, as much as oral sex is amazing, if you have to participate in oral sex, I would say ensure that your partner is doing it with a clean mouth. So you know how we see movies and then couples wake up in the morning and then they are slowly going at it and then somebody's going down the other person. And this could even be from you as the woman. So you go down the man or the woman and then you put your mouth there, your dirty, unwashed mouth, especially if you didn't brush the night before and you had so many things to eat the night before. You had ice cream, you had junk, you had pizza, you just had so many things, and then you went to bed, and then you wake up in the morning and all that. And then that person takes their private that you have rubbed with your dirty mouth and dirty saliva and puts that back into you. And that is just you introducing bacteria into your vagina. It could also be the other way, where the person is going down on you and the person did not clean their mouth, the person didn't wash their mouth. I know it looks all nice and was in movies and you're like, oh, let's just try this. But this is real life. You can come down with yeast infection from that singular act. So if you're going to participate in oral sex, ensure that you or your partner's mouth is clean. You want to do that with a clean mouth. You want to have brushed your teeth. You want to have washed your mouth. Because, like I said in the previous point, from your mouth down there, that can definitely give room for the bacteria down there to dry. So you don't want to do that. You want to make that place as clean as possible. Because if you're suffering from recurring yeast infection, you might not know exactly what you're doing wrong that is irritating you. So this could just be one of such. The next point I'm going to be talking about, which is my fourth point, is what I call double dipping. Yep. I found this one very hard, or I learned this one the hard way. I didn't know that could give me yeast infection. And so it wasn't a case of, I personally, wasn't a case of, oh, I dipped in and dipped here. No, it was a case of more of the mouth. So from one point to another. I'm going to talk about the main double dipping, but let me start from the oral sex. So when you're having oral sex, some people go from back to front, It might be nice, yes. But if you have a sensitive body like I do, because there are people who do this and they get away with it, they don't have any infection, they don't develop yeast after that. But if you're like me, you want to say no to that, because it's like the person using their mouth to introduce bacteria from your anus back into your vagina and just back and forth like that. Even if you're clean, even if you just recently washed, so like you washed in our area, you wash your vagina everywhere, sparkling clean, you still do not want to go back and forth when it comes to that. If you keep having recurring yeast infection, you want to take a look at this and see if that would help your condition. Now, let's talk about the main act itself. I know a lot of people are into anal sex and vaginal sex. So if you are one of such people, you want to avoid double dipping at the same time. You don't want to go into the anus and then back into the vagina with, if you're using protection, but the same condom. Because that would just be you introducing bacteria from the bowel into the vagina. And that is so messed up. Like that will definitely throw your pH off. So if you are going to double dip, it's one at a time. You do one first. So it's that you're doing the anal first, and then when you're done with the anal, you change your condom, or you wash up, or you do just basically clean up before you go into your vagina. And if you want to start with the vagina, stick to the vagina before you move down to the back. So avoid double dipping. And my last point is also one that I I didn't know till like after so many cases of recurring yeast infection is dirty fingers. Dirty fingers. So you know how they say, "Oh, we are in the heat of the moment," and then you guys just rushed into the house, just like how we sit in the movies. You're kissing from the entrance, and then you just get into the house, and you're just like, "Can we take off my clothes?" And you're all just at it, and then next thing, somebody's putting their fingers inside of you. It might feel so good, but after the whole sex thing, and then your brain is down to normal, like you have that reset in your head, and then you start to feel that tingling feeling. It could be because somebody was too carried away to have asked for, please wash your fingers before you put them inside of me, or, oh, I need to wash my fingers before I put them inside of you. So you want to always remember this, no matter how carried away you are. Even if it is you who's touching yourself, need to put your finger into your VJJ, ensure that your fingers are clean, because it's easy for bacteria and dirt and things to just hide underneath the finger. And then you put that same hand into your sensitive part. It's just very easy for the bacteria to just be introduced there. So when next you are about to do, or when next you are going at it, remember to ask your partner and say, please wash your hands first. That way, you're keeping yourself safe. You're also keeping your partner safe, because if you are sick with yeast infection, if you're actively treating a yeast infection, you cannot be having sex, because when you're having yeast infection, especially the bad ones, sex is the last thing on your mind, because it's like, my vagina is sore, my vagina is itchy, I'm uncomfortable, and as what is telling you to come and have sex, I'm sure you'll be like, are you okay? I said I'm not feeling well down there, you're asking me to have sex. So remember, I just listed 5 points. Remember to practice these 5 points when you are having sex. And it would help to prevent recurring cases of yeast infection. If you have watched this video to this point and you have learned 1 or 2, remember to give this video a thumbs up so that I know that you enjoyed watching it. And also smash that subscribe button if you're not subscribed yet. You should also hit the post notification bell so that YouTube personally notifies you every time I drop a similar video just like this. And let me know in the comment section if you've experienced any of these things I just talked about, or if you can relate with them. Maybe you've tried this and that and you notice that, oh, every time I have sex, this always happens. If you have such, drop it in the comment section. Let us learn from one another. And with that, I'll tell you, your health is your wealth. Bye. See you in my next video.